A silent shift is happening in Asia right now. No explosions, no official war declarations, no clear breaking point the world can point to and say this is where it began. But something fundamental is changing in the balance of power between China, Japan, and Taiwan. And if this continues, the entire Indo-Pacific region may never look the same again. Because Japan is no longer just defending itself, it is transforming into something it hasn't been for nearly 80 years. For decades, Japan followed one rule: never become a military aggressor again. Its constitution was built after World War II to ensure exactly that, a nation focused on defense, not projection, stability, not expansion. But quietly, that boundary is shifting, step by step, system by system. Japan is building a new defense structure across its southwestern islands, stretching toward Taiwan. Not just defense, but what many analysts describe as a denial network, a system designed not only to protect territory, but to prevent an enemy from operating freely. And that changes everything because this region is not just geography, it is one of the most important maritime corridors on Earth. The Taiwan Strait sits at the center of global trade and military strategy. Every day, massive volumes of global shipping pass through this region. Energy routes depend on it, supply chains depend on it, and most importantly, the world's semiconductor ecosystem depends on its stability. If this region is disrupted, the impact does not stay local. It spreads across the global economy. Factories slow down, shipping costs rise, technology supply chains break, energy markets react. This is why Taiwan is not just a regional issue. It is a global pressure point. Now imagine every route around Taiwan becoming monitored, then tracked, then potentially threatened. That is the strategic reality slowly forming in the background. Japan has begun deploying advanced missile systems across its southwestern island chain, a line of territory stretching dangerously close to Taiwan. Some of these islands are less than 100 kilometers away. This is not symbolic. It is positioning, strategic, and calculated positioning designed to reshape the balance of access in the region. Across these islands, Japan is deploying long-range anti-ship missile systems, high-speed glide weapons, advanced radar networks, and electronic warfare units. These are not isolated systems. They are connected under integrated command structures, linking land, sea, and air operations into a single network. For the first time in decades, Japan is building the ability not just to respond to threats, but to actively control movement across a wide maritime zone. This represents a shift in doctrine from passive defense to active deterrence. The geography of this region makes everything more intense. Japan's southwestern islands form a natural chain stretching across key naval routes in the Western Pacific. These routes are narrow, predictable, and essential for large-scale naval movement. In strategic terms, they are choke points. And now, many of these choke points are within range of modern missile systems. That creates a new operational reality. Any movement near Taiwan is no longer just a question of Taiwan or the United States. Japan becomes part of the equation, and every additional variable increases complexity. In military strategy, complexity slows decisions, and delay creates vulnerability. This is why analysts describe the emerging system as multi-layered deterrence. It is not about matching force with force. It is about making movement expensive, risky, and uncertain. Every decision becomes harder. Every operation requires more calculation, and every misstep carries higher consequences. At the same time, Japan is not only building traditional missile defenses, it is also adapting to modern warfare lessons from recent global conflicts, especially Ukraine. In that conflict, cheap drones and unmanned systems change the battlefield dynamic completely. Japan is absorbing those lessons quickly. Instead of relying solely on expensive high-end weapons, it is developing a mix of systems that include long-range unmanned strike drones, autonomous platforms capable of extended operations, submarine-launched unmanned systems, and electronic disruption tools designed to interfere with enemy communication and coordination. The logic behind this shift is not about matching power directly. It is about economic imbalance in warfare. If a low-cost system forces a high-cost response, the pressure shifts over time. A $10,000 drone forcing a multi-million-dollar missile response is not just tactical, it becomes strategic exhaustion. Warfare begins to shift from destruction alone to sustainability. Who can maintain pressure longer without breaking their own system? Japan is also expanding cooperation beyond its borders. Its defense These relationships are increasingly linked with the United States, European partners, and selective cooperation with Ukraine. These connections are not just diplomatic. They involve intelligence sharing, logistics coordination, space-based surveillance integration, and discussions around rare earth supply chains. This last point is especially important because rare earth elements are critical for modern defense systems, electronics, and advanced manufacturing. Currently, China dominates a large portion of global rare earth production. This has historically given Beijing a form of economic leverage. But new partnerships are beginning to reduce that dependency. Alternative supply chains are being developed, refining capacity is expanding outside China, and long-term agreements are being structured to stabilize access. This does not remove China's influence immediately, but it gradually reduces its exclusivity. And in strategic competition, reducing exclusivity often matters more than immediate replacement. China is clearly responding to these shifts. Its military activity around Taiwan has increased, naval deployments, air patrols, and large-scale exercises have become more frequent. From Beijing's perspective, these developments are not defensive adjustments by Japan. They are strategic escalations that alter the balance of power. And as a result, the operational environment around Taiwan is becoming more active, more crowded, and more sensitive. Around Taiwan, multiple layers of pressure are now visible. Airspace activity has increased with military aircraft regularly entering sensitive zones. Naval formations operate in coordinated patterns around the island, and gray zone tactics involving Coast Guard vessels and non-military pressure are being used to maintain constant stress without crossing into full-scale conflict. This creates a continuous environment of tension without formal war, a space where every action is calculated to avoid triggering a direct response, but still gradually shifts control. At the same time, the United States remains deeply involved in the region. Military assets are positioned across the Indo-Pacific, surveillance networks are active, and joint coordination with Japan continues to expand, especially in missile defense logistics and forward deployment strategies. This creates a multi-actor system where no single country fully controls escalation. Each side influences the others, and each move triggers countermoves. This is what makes the current situation uniquely dangerous. It is not a simple two-sided conflict. It is a multi-layered strategic environment involving China, Japan, the United States, Taiwan, and indirect European involvement through technology and supply chains. Every layer adds complexity. Every layer increases uncertainty. And in systems like this, the most dangerous moment is not when someone intends war. It is when multiple systems interact without full coordination. History has shown that major conflicts rarely begin with clear decisions. They begin with overlapping actions, misread signals, and gradual escalation that no single actor fully controls. What is forming now is not an open war, it is a structural transformation of power across Asia. Japan is no longer a passive defensive state. China is no longer operating without regional constraints. Taiwan remains at the center of global strategic tension, and the United States and its partners are increasingly embedded in the system that surrounds it. The real question is no longer whether tension exists, that is already established. The question now is how far this system can expand before pressure turns into rupture. Because in moments like this, history does not move through announcements, it moves through accumulation.